Hi folks, so just doing this recording outside for a change. Change is good. Change is good. Change brings challenges. There's no question about it. But change is part of life, and it's a necessity. You can't escape it. If you try, you're going to pay the price. That's for sure. You know, being in relationships with people, folks, is certainly not easy. I'm talking about all types of relationships, whether it's a colleague, whether it's a family member, brother, sister, uncle, parent, whether it's your next door neighbor, old friend or something or other. We even beyond that, we're in relationships with as people because we live on the same planet. I mean, it's not a relationship, but you have a working with, let's say, the lady behind the till, right, at the supermarket or something like that. You have an engagement with people daily, and relationships have become very tricky, and I would say a lot of the time very dishonest for many reasons. But I think one of the reasons is because we can't really be authentic with one another. And what I mean by that is that we can't really point out to one another our flaws and shortcomings, okay, and our blind spots, and where we're not in balance. I think a healthy relationship is between two people that feel comfortable and safe enough and can trust each other to listen what each other has to say in regards to one's shortcomings, okay, or one's sort of blind spots or immaturities or fears or something or other, that which we are unconscious of. I don't see why that's probably one of the most delightful and blessings to have with a real relationship. I'm saying an opportunity and a gift and value, absolutely, to be able to be with another person who you can trust and feel safe and comfortable with, and let your guard down, and they can do the same for you. And I got to get this call. Sorry, I had to take that call, folks. Sorry about that. So now I've missed my point. I've lost my point. But I think I was talking about being in relationship with somebody who you can really be yourself. They can inform you of where you might be unconscious and where your blind spots might be, and you can do the same for them, okay? And by doing that as well, you reap the benefits of what it's like to really be connected with one another without having to sort of have a mask or distort yourselves or be inauthentic. Like, how many relationships that you have with people where you just feel like you'd love to tell them, where you just see that they are unbalanced or unreasonable or immature or irresponsible or not in touch. You'd love to point it out to them, not because you're judgmental, because you care about them. You want to do it because you care about them and you want to have a relationship with them. And you can't seem to have a relationship with them because a lot of the time you plagued and you blocked by having to ignore all of their shortcomings, and you have to put up with it, and it's actually frustrating you. It's offending you. It can be disrespectful to you. You're having to play a game. So let's just say it like this. We know in our society, in our culture we live in, we distort who we are. Okay, we show a certain personality to the world. All right, we've been taught to do this, and hide and suppress all those undesirable qualities, okay, of ourselves. All right, whatever those undesirable qualities may be. So we've suppressed that. We've learned to suppress that in childhood. They become unacceptable, and whatever it is, certain parts of our psyche, personality, soul, spirit, whatever it is, we've had to suppress that, and we've had to also conform to a world. So we've had to suppress our individuality, right? and who we are in a way, and we've had to adjust ourselves to a certain model, a cultural model and character and personality that the world deems worthwhile. Okay, so if that makes sense. In other words, a lot of our shortcomings we pretend that they aren't there. All right, a lot of our addictions and habits and immaturities and irresponsibilities we pretend aren't there. I'll give an example. Okay, let's say you go over to somebody's house and the dog is just keeps jumping on your lap and keeps licking you, and you're trying to have a conversation with the person whose house you're at, and you can see the dog's never been trained. Okay, the dog's got no boundaries, never been disciplined or whatever it is, and you politely saying to the person, please take the dog away, and then they take the dog away, but the dog keeps on coming back, and you're wanting to shout at the dog, you want to shout at the person, because you're really annoyed by it, and say, you treat this dog like a child, and it's not right. Okay, and whatever, and you won't, because it's offending, it's bothering you. I'm saying many things here, and so. And you just have to put up with it, and it's terrible. And then the children are running around, and the children are grabbing sweets and candy out of the cupboard, and they making a noise, and they're hitting the back of your chair while you're trying to talk, and they on their cell phones, and the cell phone's sitting like right next to you, and that's too loud, and you just feel like the whole situation is so chaotic and you feel like you just want to say to the parent or the person, the owner of the house, it's like, you must get your shit together, right? It's like you are out of control. This is an unhealthy environment, and you want to voice yourself, but you can't, all right? Because why? The other person, coming back to what I'm saying, the other person is pretending, let's say it's a mom or dad, that they are the best, well-rounded individual, that you could possibly ask for. They are a saint, right? They do no wrong. They're just perfect in every area. And that's what I'm coming back to and saying, is that's how we represent ourselves to one another and to the world, that we are perfect. Okay, we do this, right, and with the help of the ego, and we do it out of a fear, we do it out of so many things, but that's for another talk, why we do it. But so what I'm saying is that we having to play this role where we only are willing to see the best of one another, okay, and suppress everything else. This is how the game works. Kind of like, in an example, it's like with your boss, right? You don't have an honest relationship with your boss, all right? And you're going to see your boss as the king, as the chief, whatever it is. And no matter what your boss does, whatever he or she does is just unbelievably smart and intelligent and so well thought through, and you can't question your boss, right? And you can't challenge your boss, right, on any sort of personal level. There's no area for that. You've got to look at your boss and kiss his or her ass. That's it. That's all that'll make you a good employee 9 out of 10 times, okay? Is when you boost your boss's ego and when you play to your boss's ego, okay? Because it's not appropriate for you to come in and say anything to your boss, otherwise you get fired. And what I'm saying is the same thing in relationships, whether it be from one brother to another, or from brother to sister, or brother to uncle, or aunt, or friend, or girlfriend, or wife, or whatever it is, often to child, you name it, next door neighbor, you name it. We are not allowed to, in our society, it's taboo, you're not allowed to speak about those undesirable qualities of each other. You're only allowed to see the highest of qualities. And this is a big problem, and this is what causes a lot of sort of social anxiety. I feel this is what causes a lot of people who are sensitive or conscious to say, look, I still want to deal with people. It's just too complicated. I don't want to play the game, and I understand that if I want to be in a relationship with them, it's all going to just be about gameplay, and I can't do that, all right? It doesn't work for me. And so a lot of us feel we just retract, all right? Because we don't want to have to play a game. We don't have to wear a mask, and why should we? And so a lot of, I don't have a solution, each to their own. We sort of move away from people a lot of the time. So that's what I think is going on in our society. And also the thing is that, again, if you try and point out this awareness to other people, and for their own benefit, not because you are better than them. But like, I have some good people in my life, good friends, and I would like to point certain flaws or shortcomings or short-sightedness that they have in their own life for the better of our relationship, but also for their own betterment. But as soon as, again, like, I start trying to address it with them, they get very sensitive, alright? And they block me off, and then they want to sort of fight. They feel, I mean, obviously it's their ego, they feel that they are under attack. And so they respond in a very, very sort of harsh manner, larger than needed to. I mean, maybe you're just pointing out something simple to them, you know? Maybe it's like, even it could be your sister, and you feel that she's dressing quite provocatively, alright? And you just mentioned to her saying, listen sis, you know, you might be giving out the wrong message here, you know, you're already an attractive woman, it's like, you don't have to sell yourself short, whatever. And then all of a sudden she comes back at you and saying, well, you have no idea about fashion, you're an ignoramus, and, you know, you're just trying to control me, and you just, you know, and even though you can say, look, I'm looking out for your best interest. Okay, maybe that's not the best example. Maybe it's somebody in your household that has an addiction. Maybe you just point it out to them and say, listen, you're drinking too much. I love you, and I'm telling you that you're drinking too much and you can't see it. And you're in denial about it. And you know what kind of result often or reaction you're going to get. Somebody's overeating in your house, you know, a loved one of yours and whatever it is, and they're not taking care of themselves, and you point it out to them. Man, be prepared to go to war with it, you know, about it, because their ego is just going to react, knee-jerk reaction. And a lot of the time, I mean, because they're very, very sensitive, and a lot of the time, you maybe are sensitive yourself, so their approach can hit below the belt, you know. Like, they might say to you, they'll insult you. I remember the one time, I have a friend of mine, and he's a loudmouth. Like, at a table, at any sort of table that we you know, he was around, he would be the one who would be speaking the loudest. He would hijack all the conversations. His name was Mark. And like, afterwards, you know, and people didn't like it. And afterwards I mentioned to him, I said, Mark, you know, like, you speak very, very loudly, and your voice bellows in the room. I'm not trying to be horrible, man, but like, I never told him that the other friends or other people at the table were also saying the same thing when he went away from the table. Like, I was looking out for his best interest, you know. And Mark was highly offended. He was highly offended. And I said to him, I'm not coming from a bad place here, man. It's like, this is what people are saying. Not that you should, you know, listen to what people have to say and conform to them, but maybe they do have a point, right? Maybe you are very loud, and maybe you are very controlling of the room, and your voice bellows, and you interrupt people and whatever it is. Maybe just look at this, right? Maybe it's not because everybody else wants you, you know, he could reply and say, well, they just want me to be quiet and sullen like them, and I just got all this energy, and they're like sort of dead wood or something. And it's like, you know, again, unreasonable response, not willing to see where they're coming from. Because essentially, why is Mark bellowing? Is because he's probably insecure and he wants all the attention on him. So, you know, that's what happens. It happens all the time. And sometimes it's like things that you can walk away from, and like, you can maybe witness a family member doing something. It doesn't interfere with you so much. Maybe some of their habits, maybe they're like, I mean, let's say it's maybe they're in debt, alright? Maybe you haven't got much to do with them. I'm trying to say that when it's in a relationship, maybe it's your wife, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a husband, or whatever it is, you know, good friend, it's going to impact on you a lot, but and vice versa. What you do to each other, you know. I heard a saying once, we hurt the ones we love the most, or something like that, which is true. The people that you connected to more intensely, you're more intimate with, and more involved with on a daily level, their actions are going to impact on you, and vice versa. So folks, there's many examples that I can give of this, but what I've realized in my life is that, it's so many people in my life, family members, I cannot, it doesn't end well. There's no point to even bringing it up and saying, look, right, I think you're being inconsiderate to me, or, like, I have a family member and they promise me the world, and then they often let me down. Right? They say that they're going to be there for me for this or for whatever, if I need help with this or that, on many levels, and they always let me down. And like, I can't say to them, listen, you let me down and it's frustrating me and I can't rely on you, and don't try and make promises to me in the future, because you can't, you're not consistent and you're not respecting. Like, when you give me your word is your word. Don't back out at the last minute, right? Don't back out on the last minute. And so the only reason that, and also I can't really say this. I can't really say this to this family member, and I can't get into too much detail. But I would love to, but I can't. Because I know how the family member is going to respond. And their knee-jerk reaction will be terrible. And I need this family member for other purposes than just being a family member, for other, sometimes financial, sometimes it's business, sometimes it's just whatever it is. And so I can't lose the relationship, It's like even employees that you work with, other sort of staff members that you work with, colleagues at work. It's like you would love to just tell them off straight away or whatever it is. Like, you would love to just say, oh, I don't know, you haven't bathed in 3 weeks and you smell, I don't know how much time I got left here. There was a guy that I got in a job in a warehouse, right? And he was off the streets. And I met him, he was a friend of mine. He did a few favors for me, some gardening, whatever it was. And I got him a job in my brother's company. And he would work in the warehouse and he would rock up, very nice guy, right? I'm sorry, this is making a bit of a hassle here. Very nice guy. And he would rock up and he had dreadlocks, and they would, he would rock up to work and they were dirty, and his hair was dirty, his clothes were dirty. He'd wear the uniform that they gave him and his buttons were undone, and you could see his chest hair and whatever it was, and it was, this guy comes from probably more of a tribal, he comes from Zimbabwe, so, in the village type, so, and he smelled like terribly, like a BO, terrible. And I thought to myself, this is not good for him, because he doesn't realize the environment. And so his name's Muzi, and I went up to Muzi and I said to him the one day, I said, man, I'm sorry to say, but you smell, like I said in a very nice way, and you got to clean up your act. I said, because when it comes around to promotions and it comes up to responsibilities, the way that business people work, because I'm sure this is his first job in such a corporate company, I said, the way that people work is that they're going to suspect you on crime, many things, on theft. They're going to see you as a drinker, as irresponsible. Your appearance matters, my friend. Your appearance. So I'm saying, not doll up and whatever. I said, just button up your shirt, buy a can of deodorant. I don't actually use deodorant. I use sort of a natural sort of thing, which doesn't even work. But he was in the warehouse and looked the part. And he said to me, and I was so worried about how he was going to respond. And he said to me, you know what, man, you got me this job. I'm so grateful. I can feed my family. He says, I know you're coming from a good place. He put his hands together. He said, thank you. I didn't know what you were talking about. And it was great, folks. And when I see Muzi today, he's the number one in the warehouse out of like 15 guys. He's got the highest responsibilities. He does all the stock takes or whatever it is. Boom, there you go. But what I can say is 9 out of 10 times with people, you can't. They're too sensitive. You can't even say something even small to them. That like, even something small. Oh, you use your cell phone too much, maybe. Or like, I don't want you using your cell phone when I'm talking to you. You can, this is reasonable. I have so many people, I say, put your cell phone, otherwise I'm not talking to you. No, I can talk and listen to you at the same time. So bullshit. Don't give me that. I don't want to see that. Okay? And I tell people off straight. And some people get highly offended and they say, what you saying? I can't multitask. I've been multitasking. I can drive in my car, I can talk on the phone, I can have a cigarette and a cup of coffee at the same time. So what are you trying to say? That I'm incapable of doing at least two things at once? I'm like, whoa, So you just don't have any further conversations with this person. But it's things like that. It's just things where you can't really, where people aren't mature enough, aren't responsible enough, aren't open enough to be able to hear about their flaws. And for them also, that you can trust them that they can tell you about your own, unconscious things. Or because, folks, if we can reflect to each other who we are, if we can help each other, if we can assist each other, we can grow at such a rapid rate, we can heal at such a rapid rate. We can see so many things that we cannot see. that we are doing that are harming ourselves. And it's so it's so much easier sometimes from other people to get a perspective on your own shortcomings and vice versa than it is for yourself, right? So you can see things about me. I'm sure my audience, you listeners, have picked up things about me that I have no idea about that can be very, very useful and constructive to me, for me. They can be, absolutely. I mean, my one friend Dan just said, he said the other day, he said, give yourself the permission to be yourself, or something like that. I can't remember, I mean, I should, but I know what he's talking about. And it meant so much to me, and so I was like, wow, thanks, We can really be there for each other in that way. And unfortunately, a lot of our relationships aren't like that, and we're having to play the game. So you've got to find a balance, though. You've got to find the people that, like, sometimes you just, you have to play a game with because of circumstances, whether it's, colleagues of yours, it's maybe family members that you're tied in financially or something, whatever. There's many different reasons. Wife, husband, many children. There's many different reasons why we have to kind of we have to be in each other's company. And so we've got to kind of figure that out, and I'm saying, and find a balance. And those people who are just rubbishers, just to get rid of, just to get rid of. I mean, there's absolutely no reason for it. So that's it, folks. I think there's an absolute beauty and power in relationships where we can really help each other heal, grow, and be there for one another in a very sincere way. We've got to keep a lookout for those relationships and those people, and work hard, and when we got them, to work hard at it, because they are so invaluable. They are so priceless. They absolutely are. As usual, folks, I could give many more examples, but they all slip my mind right now. Now I know when I switch off the camera, all of a sudden it's going to be, I could have said that, I could have said that, that's an example, having to deal with a salesman in a polite way or something like that, or having to, somebody's got a very judgmental view on you and whatever, and you can't really fight them on it. They're very judgmental, and or something, like I have an old cell phone, let's just say, and like certain people will say to me, very judgmentally, like, you're such a hippie, or you're so backwards, or you're so anti this, and you're so anti that. And I'm like, I don't even bother. You don't even bother to get offended. You don't even bother to get offended, really. So there's a lot of people very judgmental. They won't take no for an answer. They're like, I can't think of examples right now, folks, but I think you get the point. For now, at least. Alright, thank you for taking the time. I do appreciate it. I do value your viewership, your commentary, and our relationship together here. Alright, folks, I'll chat soon. Take care.